Emma Chen pressed her back against the cold brick wall of Lincoln Valley High School, watching streams of students flow past her like water around a stone. Her oversized sweater hung loose on her petite frame, carefully chosen to help her disappear into the background noise of teenage chaos. What none of them knew was that the quiet girl clutching her worn messenger bag possessed skills that could unravel their entire digital lives with nothing more than a few keystrokes. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The April morning carried the scent of blooming cherry trees across the Brookside campus, but Emma barely noticed the beauty around her. She was too busy memorizing exit routes and calculating the safest path to her first period English class. After 3 weeks at Lincoln Valley High, she had mapped every hallway, identified every hiding spot, and learned the patrol patterns of the popular students who ruled these corridors with smartphone cameras and cutting remarks. Emma's father had promised this move from Seattle would be their last. His new position at a tech startup in Brookside offered the stability they both craved after years of bouncing between cities following her mother's death. David Chun worked 18-hour days debugging code and building security systems, leaving Emma to navigate the treacherous waters of high school social hierarchies alone. She didn't mind the solitude. In her experience, attention was dangerous, and invisibility was survival. The morning routine was always the same. Emma arrived early, found her locker, grabbed her books, and slipped into Mrs. Patterson's English classroom before the hallways filled with the students who mattered. She had perfected the art of being present, but unseen, contributing just enough to avoid teacher concern while never standing out enough to attract peer attention. Her grades were excellent, her behavior exemplary, and her social footprint virtually non-existent. That carefully constructed invisibility shattered the moment Madison Wells decided Emma Chen was worth noticing. Madison ruled Lincoln Valley High with the kind of effortless cruelty that came from being blessed with perfect features, unlimited parental funding, and an Instagram following that included half the school. Her honey blonde hair caught light like spun gold, her designer clothes fit like they were crafted specifically for her body, and her smile could shift from devastating beauty to razor-sharp malice in the span of a heartbeat. She surrounded herself with disciples who hung on her every word and amplified her influence across every social media platform that mattered. The collision happened during passing period between second and third class. Emma was hurrying toward the art wing, her head down and earbuds in, when she rounded the corner near the main staircase. Madison was posed against the railing, perfectly positioned for her best friend Chloe Martinez to capture candid photos for her story. Emma's shoulder brushed against Madison's designer handbag, barely disturbing the carefully arranged scene. "Excuse me," Emma mumbled, continuing toward the stairs without making eye contact. "Wait a minute." Madison's voice carried the kind of authority that made conversations stop and heads turn. "I think you knocked something out of my bag." Emma paused, scanning the polished floor around Madison's feet. She saw nothing but the usual debris of high school life: discarded gum wrappers, pen caps, someone's forgotten homework assignment. "I don't see anything. Sorry if I bumped you." Madison stepped closer, her platform boots clicking against the linoleum. Up close, she was even more intimidating, her green eyes sharp with intelligence and casual cruelty. "You don't see anything, really? Chloe, did you see what fell out of my bag when this girl bumped into me?" Chloe Martinez appeared at Madison's shoulder like a summoned shadow. Where Madison was golden perfection, Chloe was dark intensity. Sharp cheekbones, dramatic eye makeup, and an expression that suggested she found most of the world beneath her notice. "Definitely saw something fall," she confirmed, her phone already recording. "Looked expensive." Emma felt heat creeping up her neck as more students gathered around them. She recognized the setup immediately. She had seen this exact scene. Play out in 3 different schools across 2 states. The popular girl creates a problem, the target gets flustered, and everyone else becomes either an audience or an accomplice. I really didn't knock anything out of your bag. I barely touched it. Are you calling me a liar? Madison's voice rose just enough to ensure maximum audience engagement. In front of all these people? The circle of observers grew larger. Emma could see phones appearing, cameras positioning for the perfect angle to capture whatever was about to happen. Her heart raced, but she forced her voice to remain steady. I'm not calling you anything. I'm just saying I don't think I knocked anything out of your bag. Madison exchanged a meaningful glance with Chloe, and Emma caught something that made her stomach drop. This wasn't random. This wasn't about a bumped bag or a fallen object. This was planned, orchestrated, designed to create exactly this moment. Where Emma stood surrounded by students with cameras while Madison held all the power. You know what? I think there's been a misunderstanding, Madison said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. Let me help you understand how things work. Here at Lincoln Valley. She stepped even closer, close enough that Emma could smell her expensive perfume. Some people belong here, and some people are just visiting until they figure out where they actually fit. The implicit threat hung in the air between them. Emma had heard variations of this speech before. The territorial marking, the social hierarchy explanation, the carefully worded warning that translated to know your place or suffer the consequences. What made this different was the calculating look in Madison's eyes, the way Chloe's phone stayed trained on Emma's face, and the feeling that this encounter was being preserved for purposes she couldn't yet understand. I understand, Emma said quietly, shouldering her messenger bag and preparing to retreat. Good, Madison replied, but her smile suggested this conversation was far from over. I think we're going to have a really interesting semester together, Emma Chen. The use of her full name sent ice through Emma's veins. Madison knew exactly who she was, which meant this encounter had been planned with deliberate precision. As the crowd dispersed and Emma finally escaped to the art wing, she realized her carefully maintained invisibility had been shattered completely. Madison Wells had decided Emma Chen was worth her attention, and that attention was never a blessing. At Lincoln Valley High, what Madison didn't know was that Emma Chen had learned far more than just invisibility during her nomadic childhood. While other kids played video games, Emma had learned to code. While her peers posted selfies, Emma had mastered digital forensics. Her father's late-night programming sessions had become her informal education in cybersecurity, data mining, and the kind of technical skills that could turn a smartphone into a weapon more powerful than any physical threat. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The war Madison Wells was starting would be fought on digital battlefields where appearances meant nothing and technical skill meant everything. Emma just had to decide when to start fighting back. The campaign against Emma Chen began within hours of their hallway encounter. By lunch period, a photo of Emma's messenger bag was circulating on Instagram with the caption, "Vintage thrift store vibes or just broke." Madison's followers eagerly dissected every detail of Emma's appearance in the comment section, analyzing her discount sneakers and secondhand clothing with the ruthless precision of fashion critics. Emma discovered her sudden internet fame during lunch when she overheard 2 sophomore girls giggling over their phones in the library. She recognized her bag immediately, along with the cruel commentary that accompanied the image. The post had already garnered over 200 likes and dozens of comments, ranging from mild mockery to outright viciousness. Madison had tagged several other popular accounts, ensuring maximum visibility for Emma's public humiliation. The digital assault continued throughout the week with surgical precision. Madison possessed an intuitive understanding of modern teenage warfare, deploying social media like a master strategist commanding an army of willing participants. She never posted anything directly attacking Emma, maintaining plausible deniability, while orchestrating a symphony of subtle cruelty that painted Emma as an outsider worthy of ridicule. Tuesday brought a candid photo of Emma eating lunch alone in the art room, tagged with "Found the lunch table for one." Wednesday featured a zoomed-in shot of Emma's scuffed sneakers, accompanied by a poll asking followers to guess whether they were vintage by choice or vintage by necessity. Thursday escalated to a short video of Emma walking down the hallway, her awkward gait emphasized by the caption, "When you forgot how to walk like a normal person." Each post garnered hundreds of interactions from students eager to demonstrate their allegiance to Madison's social empire. Emma watched her digital assassination unfold with a mixture of fascination and horror, recognizing the sophisticated psychological warfare being deployed against her. Madison understood that modern high school cruelty required no physical contact, no direct confrontation, and no risk of adult intervention. A smartphone camera and a popular Instagram account were infinitely more powerful than any traditional bullying tactic. Emma's father noticed her increasing withdrawal during their evening dinners together. David Chun worked long hours debugging security protocols for his new company, but he possessed enough parental intuition to recognize when his daughter was struggling. Their conversations had grown shorter, her appetite smaller, and her usual enthusiasm for discussing her day had evaporated entirely. "Everything going okay at the new school?" he asked one evening, looking up from his laptop where he was reviewing code documentation. "You seem quieter than usual." Emma pushed food around her plate, considering how much truth she could safely share. Her father was brilliant with computers, but hopelessly naive about social dynamics. He believed problems could be solved through logical analysis and direct communication, concepts that had no application in the brutal ecosystem of teenage hierarchies. "Just adjusting to everything. It takes time to find your place." David studied her face with the same analytical attention he applied to debugging problematic software. "You know, when I was dealing with workplace politics at my last job, I found that understanding the system was half the battle. Once you map out how people interact, you can navigate around the problem areas." His advice was more applicable than he realized. Emma had been unconsciously mapping Lincoln Valley High's digital ecosystem since her first day, tracking social connections through follower lists, analyzing posting patterns to understand relationship dynamics, and identifying the key influencers who shaped student opinion. What she hadn't done was consider how to use that information strategically. Friday brought escalation in the form of Amber Thompson, Madison's newest recruit to the anti-Emma campaign. Amber was a junior with aspirations of joining Madison's inner circle, and she approached her assignment with the enthusiasm of someone auditioning for a coveted role. Where Madison maintained subtle cruelty, Amber deployed blunt force trauma. The confrontation happened during passing period near Emma's locker. Amber appeared with her phone already recording, flanked by two other girls Emma didn't recognize. "Hey, aren't you the thrift store girl from Madison's posts?" Amber announced, loudly enough to attract attention from nearby students. Emma continued organizing her textbooks, hoping to avoid engagement entirely. She had learned that responding to provocations only provided more content for their digital harassment campaign. Silence was safer, even if it felt like surrender. "I'm talking to you," Amber persisted, stepping closer to Emma's locker. "My followers want to know where you shop for those unique fashion choices. Is there like a special store for people who can't afford real clothes?" The small crowd gathering around them included several students Emma recognized from Madison's social circle. Their phones were positioned for optimal recording angles, suggesting this encounter had been planned with the same precision as Madison's previous attacks. Emma realized she was being positioned as content for their entertainment, a supporting character in their ongoing social media narrative. "I shop wherever I can afford," Emma replied quietly, hoping honesty might deflate their enthusiasm for confrontation. Amber's face lit up with delight at receiving a response. Wherever you can afford. That's so sad. Maybe we should start a charity fund to help you buy real clothes. What do you think, guys? Should we help the poor girl? The mockery felt like acid, burning through Emma's carefully constructed emotional defenses. She could feel her face reddening, her hands trembling slightly as she closed her locker door. The cameras captured every moment of her humiliation, preserving it for infinite replay and analysis across their social networks. Actually, I have a better idea, Amber continued, emboldened by Emma's obvious distress. Why don't you show us how those discount clothes hold up? I bet they're not made very well. Before Emma could process the threat, Amber reached out and grabbed the hem of Emma's oversized sweater, pulling hard enough to stretch the fabric. The gesture was aggressive but fell short of actual assault, designed to humiliate without crossing legal boundaries. Emma instinctively stepped backward, but Amber maintained her grip on the sweater, creating a brief tug-of-war that played perfectly for the recording phones. "Stop," Emma said firmly, but her voice carried more plea than command. "Stop what?" "I'm just checking the quality," Amber replied with fake innocence. "These discount clothes probably fall apart if you look at them wrong." The sweater's fabric began to strain under Amber's grip, and Emma felt genuine panic rising in her chest. She was trapped between the lockers and Amber's aggressive presence, surrounded by students recording her humiliation for mass distribution. The situation was escalating beyond verbal harassment into something that felt genuinely dangerous. Mrs. Patterson's voice cut through the crowd like a lifeline. "What's happening here? Everyone needs to get to class immediately." The recording phones disappeared with practice speed, and Amber released Emma's sweater while maintaining an expression of complete innocence. "Just talking with Emma about her fashion choices, Mrs. Patterson. Nothing dramatic." The English teacher looked skeptical, but had no evidence of wrongdoing beyond the dispersing crowd and Emma's obvious distress. "Well, conversation time is over. Everyone to your next class." As the hallway emptied, Emma realized her temporary salvation had come with a cost. The video footage from Amber's ambush was already circulating through group chats and social media platforms, edited to remove context and emphasize her helplessness. Madison's army had captured another victory, and Emma's humiliation would live forever in the digital archives of Lincoln Valley High. What they didn't know was that Emma Chen had been studying their tactics with the analytical precision her father had taught her. She understood their posting schedules, their follower networks, their technical vulnerabilities, and their digital habits better than they understood themselves. Every attack they launched provided more data about their methods, their coordination, and their weaknesses. The war Madison Wells had started was about to shift onto battlefields where Emma held every advantage. The weekend provided no respite from Madison's digital siege. Emma discovered that her torment had evolved beyond school hours when she found herself tagged in a Saturday night Instagram story featuring her school photo with devil horns drawn over her head. The caption read, "Tag someone who needs a makeover," followed by laughing emojis and fire symbols. Within minutes, her notifications exploded with comments from classmates she barely knew, each one eager to participate in her public degradation. Emma sat in her bedroom, her father's old laptop open beside her personal computer, watching the real-time destruction of her reputation unfold across multiple social media platforms. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard as she tracked the digital breadcrumbs Madison's crew left behind with every post, every comment, every share. They had no idea they were painting detailed maps of their online activities for someone who understood network architecture better than most college computer science majors. David Chun had begun teaching Emma basic programming when she turned 12, initially as a way to bond over his passion for technology. What started as simple HTML tutorials had evolved into advanced courses in cybersecurity, database management, and digital forensics. While her classmates learned social media from the perspective of users, Emma understood it from the perspective of someone who could see the underlying infrastructure, the security vulnerabilities, and the digital fingerprints that careless users left scattered across the internet. Her father's latest project involved developing security protocols for a financial services company, and Emma had absorbed his lectures about penetration testing, social engineering, and the countless ways that people's digital lives could be compromised through their own careless habits. She knew how to trace IP addresses, decode encrypted messages, recover deleted files, and access information that people assumed was private or secure. These skills had developed as intellectual curiosities, academic exercises that helped her understand the digital world she inhabited. Now, watching Madison's followers gleefully participate in her humiliation, Emma felt those abstract capabilities crystallizing into concrete possibilities for retaliation. She could dismantle their social media presence within hours, expose their private messages, reveal their location data, or crash their devices with carefully crafted malware. The tools for devastating counterattack were literally at her fingertips, requiring nothing more than the decision to use them. Monday morning brought fresh horrors in the form of printed screenshots taped to Emma's locker. Someone had compiled the most vicious comments from Madison's weekend posts, enlarged them to poster size, and displayed them like an art gallery of cruelty. Fashion disaster, probably smells weird, why doesn't she just leave? And dozens of other observations were presented for the entertainment of passing students. Emma carefully removed each poster, folding them with methodical precision while students gathered to watch her reaction. She recognized the sophisticated psychological warfare being deployed against her. Madison understood that digital humiliation could be amplified through physical displays, creating maximum impact by forcing Emma to literally clean up the evidence of her social destruction in front of an audience. Chloe Martinez emerged from the gathering crowd with her phone recording, positioning herself for the optimal angle to capture Emma's face during her morning ritual of public shame. "How does it feel to be Lincoln Valley's least popular student?" Chloe asked with journalistic fake sincerity. "Any comments for your growing fan base?" Emma continued removing posters without responding, but her mind was simultaneously cataloging every detail of Chloe's digital presence. She knew Chloe's full name, her address, her class schedule, her extracurricular activities, her family members' social media accounts, and the passwords she used across multiple platforms. Emma had spent her weekend conducting digital reconnaissance on Madison's entire social circle, mapping their online vulnerabilities with the thoroughness of a military intelligence operation. The information she had gathered was staggering in its scope and devastating in its potential applications. Madison used the same password across 17 different accounts. Amber Thompson's Instagram was linked to her personal email, which contained intimate conversations with her boyfriend from another school. Chloe's phone automatically backed up photos to a cloud service that she had never properly secured. Their private group chats contained planning discussions for future attacks against Emma, along with cruel assessments of other students they considered beneath their social status. Emma possessed enough compromising information to destroy their reputations, their relationships, and their sense of security. She could expose their private conversations, reveal their authentic personalities behind their carefully curated public images, and demonstrate that their confident cruelty masked profound insecurities and petty jealousies. The power to obliterate. Their social standing was contained within gigabytes of data she had collected through their own careless digital habits. Yet something held her back from deploying these capabilities. Perhaps it was her father's repeated lectures about using technology responsibly, or perhaps it was her own moral compass refusing to sink to their level of calculated cruelty. Emma had been raised to believe that power should be used to protect rather than punish, to build rather than destroy. The temptation to weaponize her skills against Madison's group was overwhelming, but the consequences would extend far beyond simple revenge. Tuesday's escalation took the form of a coordinated harassment campaign during lunch period. Emma had retreated to the art room, hoping to find sanctuary among the easels and paint supplies, when Madison's entire social circle appeared in the doorway. They entered with the confidence of occupying forces, spreading out across the room while their phones captured every angle of Emma's surprised reaction. "We heard you like to hide in here," Madison announced, settling onto a stool near Emma's table. "Thought we should check out your artistic talents." Emma's current project was a digital art piece, combining traditional painting with computer-generated elements, a technique her father had taught her during their weekend bonding sessions. The work represented weeks of careful planning and execution, blending her technical skills with genuine artistic vision. She instinctively moved to shield the canvas from their scrutiny, but Madison was already examining it with exaggerated interest. "Wow, this is really something," Madison said, her voice dripping with false admiration. "It's so unique, so different from anything normal people would create." The backhanded compliment was designed to diminish Emma's work while maintaining plausible deniability. Madison possessed an intuitive understanding of psychological manipulation, knowing exactly how to weaponize praise into another form of attack. Emma felt her protective instincts flaring as Madison continued her examination of the artwork. "You know what this needs?" Amber Thompson interjected, moving closer to the easel. "Some collaborative input. Art is supposed to be shared, right?" Emma realized too late what was happening. Amber reached toward the canvas with paint-stained fingers, ostensibly to add her own contribution to the piece. The gesture was aggressive enough to threaten Emma's work while maintaining the facade of artistic collaboration. Emma moved to block Amber's access to the painting, but found herself surrounded by Madison's followers, all recording the encounter for later broadcast. "Don't touch it," Emma said firmly, the first time she had spoken with genuine authority since arriving at Lincoln Valley High. "Touch what?" "I'm just trying to help," Amber replied with mock innocence. "This could use some real color, some personality. Right now it's kind of boring and weird, like everything else about you." The insult stung, but Emma's greater concern was protecting weeks of careful work from deliberate destruction. She could see the malicious intent in Amber's eyes, the way Madison's group had positioned themselves to block escape routes, and the calculating expressions on their faces as they recorded her growing distress. This was another performance designed for their digital audience, another opportunity to demonstrate their power over someone they perceived as helpless. "Step away from my work," Emma repeated, her voice carrying a note of warning that surprised even herself. "Or what?" Madison asked with genuine curiosity. "What exactly are you going to do about it, Emma? Call your daddy? Run to the teachers? Post a sad video about being bullied?" The mockery felt like physical blows, but Emma's mind was simultaneously calculating digital countermeasures with ruthless precision. She knew Madison's home address, her parents' names, her credit card numbers from online purchases, her private text messages with boys she claimed to despise publicly. Emma possessed enough information to unravel Madison's entire carefully constructed social persona within minutes. The choice was becoming inevitable. Emma could continue absorbing their attacks while they escalated toward genuine destruction. Or she could finally reveal that their helpless victim possessed capabilities that could end their reign of terror permanently. The decision would define not just her survival at Lincoln Valley High, but her understanding of who she wanted to become when faced with true adversity. The war was about to shift into territory where Madison Wells had never imagined venturing. Emma's protective stance around her artwork only seemed to encourage Madison's group. They sensed vulnerability, the way predators instinctively recognize wounded prey, and their collective energy shifted toward something more dangerous than verbal harassment. The art room, which had served as Emma's sanctuary for weeks, suddenly felt cramped and suffocating with 7 hostile teenagers blocking every exit. "Look how defensive she's getting," Chloe observed, adjusting her phone angle to capture Emma's increasingly panicked expression. It's like she thinks this amateur hour painting is the Mona Lisa or something. Madison stood up from her stool, moving with deliberate slowness toward Emma's easel. Her approach was calculated to maximize tension, each step designed to ratchet up the psychological pressure while their phones recorded every moment of Emma's distress. "You know what I find interesting about art?" Madison said conversationally. "It's supposed to express inner truth. So what does this weird, dark, complicated mess say about what's going on inside your head?" The critique was deliberately crafted to wound. Emma's digital art piece represented months of technical experimentation and emotional investment, combining traditional painting techniques with complex computer algorithms that generated evolving patterns based on mathematical principles her father had taught her. The work was sophisticated in ways that Madison couldn't possibly understand, but Emma felt the attack on her creative expression like physical violence. "It says I have better things to do than worry about what people like you think," Emma replied, surprising herself with the steadiness of her voice. Madison's eyebrows rose in genuine surprise. For weeks, Emma had absorbed their harassment with silent resignation, never providing the dramatic reactions that made for compelling social media content. This sudden display of backbone was unexpected, and Madison recalibrated her approach. With the fluid adaptability of someone accustomed to psychological manipulation. "People like me?" Madison repeated thoughtfully. "You mean people who matter at this school? People who have friends and social lives and don't hide in art rooms, making weird computer paintings because they can't handle normal human interaction?" Amber Thompson seized the opening to escalate further. Maybe she's trying to express how lonely and pathetic she feels inside. All those dark colors and weird shapes probably represent her complete lack of friends or social skills. Emma felt rage building in her chest, hot and unfamiliar after weeks of forced passivity. Her fingers twitched involuntarily, muscle memory from countless hours of coding, seeking the keyboard that could unleash devastating retaliation against these tormentors. She knew their social security numbers, their parents' financial information, their most embarrassing private photographs, their secret fears expressed in late-night text messages they assumed were private. Emma possessed enough compromising data to destroy their lives with surgical precision. But her father's voice echoed in her memory, repeating lessons about responsibility and consequence that he had embedded in every technical lesson. Power without wisdom is just destruction, he had told her during one of their late-night programming sessions. The ability to do something doesn't mean you should do it. Madison was examining Emma's artwork more closely now, her fingers trailing dangerously near the wet paint sections that required careful handling. "You know what this really needs? Some authentic emotion, some real-world experience. Right now. It's all technical and cold, like the person who made it." The insult was designed to provoke a reaction, but Emma recognized the deeper strategy. Madison was positioning herself to damage the artwork while maintaining plausible deniability, creating a scenario where destruction could be dismissed as accidental consequence of artistic collaboration. Emma had watched similar setups unfold in her previous schools, where bullies learned to operate within the gray areas of adult supervision. "Don't touch the wet sections," Emma said firmly. "They need time to dry properly." "Oh, I'm just admiring your technique," Madison replied with false sweetness. "Though I have to say, some of these color choices are really questionable, like this brown section here. What's that supposed to represent?" Before Emma could respond, Madison's hand moved toward the canvas with deliberate clumsiness, her fingers brushing against the fresh paint in a gesture that appeared accidental, but left clear fingerprints across hours of careful work. The damage was immediate and irreversible, transforming weeks of artistic effort into smeared chaos. "Oops," Madison said with exaggerated concern. "I'm so clumsy. I hope that wasn't important." Emma stared at the ruined section of her painting. feeling something fundamental shift inside her chest. This wasn't just vandalism of her artwork. It was violation of the one space where she had felt safe, the destruction of something that represented her authentic self in a world that demanded conformity. The fingerprints across her canvas felt like physical assault, deliberate and personal, in ways that verbal harassment couldn't match. "You did that on purpose," Emma said quietly, her voice carrying a new quality that made several of Madison's followers exchange uncertain glances. "Did what on purpose?" "I was just looking at your art and accidentally touched some wet paint. That's not my fault. Maybe you should have warned me it wasn't dry yet." The gaslighting was expertly deployed, designed to make Emma question her own perception, while Madison's followers recorded her reaction for later analysis and entertainment. Emma recognized the technique from her father's discussions about social engineering, where attackers manipulated their victims into doubting their own experience of events. Amber Thompson moved closer to the easel, emboldened by Madison's successful provocation. "Maybe we should help fix it. Add some normal colors that people can actually understand. This whole thing is way too weird and complicated." Emma realized with crystalline clarity that they intended to destroy her artwork completely, filming her helpless reaction as entertainment for their social media followers. The art room, which had been her refuge from their harassment, was being transformed into another stage for their psychological warfare. They had invaded her sanctuary and were systematically dismantling the one thing that brought her genuine joy. "Get away from my painting," Emma said, moving to position herself between Amber and the easel. "Or what?" Amber challenged, reaching around Emma toward the canvas. "You'll tattle to the art teacher? Write a sad diary entry about how mean we are?" Emma grabbed Amber's wrist to prevent further damage to her work, and the physical contact triggered an immediate escalation from the entire group. Phones emerged from every direction, positioning for optimal angles to capture what appeared to be Emma initiating physical confrontation. Madison's followers had maneuvered her into a position where defending her artwork would be portrayed as aggressive behavior worthy of punishment. "She's attacking me," Amber announced loudly, pulling against Emma's restraining grip while maintaining perfect positioning for Chloe's recording phone. "Did everyone see that? The weird art girl just grabbed me for no reason." Emma released Amber's wrist immediately, recognizing the trap she had fallen into. They had orchestrated this encounter with sophisticated planning, creating a scenario where any attempt to protect herself or her property would be recorded as evidence of her aggressive tendencies. The video footage would be edited to remove context, distributed across their social networks as proof that Emma Chen was unstable and dangerous. "I was protecting my artwork from being destroyed," Emma said clearly, speaking directly to the recording phones. "Protecting it from what?" "I was just looking at it," Amber replied with wounded innocence. "You're being completely paranoid and aggressive. Maybe you need to talk to the school counselor about these anger management issues." Madison smiled with genuine satisfaction as she watched Emma's growing frustration. This was the reaction she had been cultivating for weeks, the moment when her target finally broke composure and provided dramatic content for their entertainment. Emma's controlled exterior was cracking, revealing the emotional vulnerability that Madison's followers craved for their digital consumption. What Madison didn't understand was that Emma's apparent loss of control was actually the opposite. For the first time since arriving at Lincoln Valley High, Emma Chen was thinking with perfect clarity about the true nature of the situation she faced. These weren't random teenage conflicts that could be resolved through patience and avoidance. Madison's group represented organized predators who would continue escalating until they encountered consequences severe enough to modify their behavior. Emma possessed those consequences in digital form, stored across multiple encrypted drives, and accessible through techniques that could bypass every security measure these amateur cyberbullies had attempted to implement. Their phones contained enough compromising information to end their social dominance permanently. Their social media accounts were vulnerable to attacks that would expose their authentic personalities behind their carefully curated public images. The choice was becoming inevitable, and Emma could feel her moral reservations dissolving under the weight of their persistent cruelty. Madison Wells had no idea she was standing in a room with someone capable of digital warfare that would make their smartphone harassment look like children playing with toys. The war was about to escalate beyond anything Lincoln Valley High had ever witnessed. Emma stood motionless in the center of the art room, surrounded by Madison's followers and their recording phones, watching paint drip slowly from her damaged canvas onto the floor below. The deliberate destruction of her artwork had triggered something fundamental inside her, a shift from defensive victim to someone who understood exactly what kind of war was being fought and how to win it decisively. "I think we're done here," Madison announced with satisfaction, surveying the chaos they had created. "Unless Emma wants to apologize for getting so aggressive over some amateur artwork." But Emma wasn't looking at Madison anymore. Her eyes had found the art room's computer terminal, the same machine she had used for digital elements of her ruined painting. Her father's lessons in cybersecurity and network penetration had taught her that most school systems were laughably vulnerable to someone who understood their architecture. Lincoln Valley High's network was no exception, and Emma had spent weeks mapping its weaknesses during her solitary lunch periods. "Actually, I think we should stay," Emma said calmly, walking toward the computer with purposeful steps. "I want to show you something interesting." Madison's group exchanged puzzled glances as Emma's fingers began moving across the keyboard with fluid precision. They had expected tears, anger, or dramatic pleading that would provide perfect content for their social media campaigns. This sudden shift toward controlled confidence was completely outside their script for how victims were supposed to behave. "What are you doing?" Chloe asked, lowering her phone slightly as Emma's typing speed increased beyond anything they had witnessed before. Emma's screen filled with lines of code that meant nothing to her tormentors, but represented the digital skeleton keys that would unlock every secret they thought was safely hidden behind privacy settings and deleted messages. Her father had taught her that people's digital lives contained more authentic truth than their carefully constructed public personas, and Emma had spent her weekend conducting reconnaissance that would have impressed professional intelligence analysts. "I'm accessing the school's social media monitoring system," Emma explained without looking away from her screen. "Did you know that Lincoln Valley High tracks every post, comment, and message that mentions the school name? They use it to identify potential threats, cyberbullying incidents, and students who might need intervention." Madison's confident expression began to waver as Emma continued typing. "That's not possible. Social media accounts are private." "Privacy is an illusion," Emma replied, her voice carrying new authority. "Especially when you use the same passwords across multiple platforms, link your accounts to unsecured email addresses, and enable location tracking on devices that automatically sync to cloud services you've never properly configured." The typing stopped, and Emma's screen displayed a familiar interface that made several of Madison's followers gasp in recognition. Their own Instagram posts filled the monitor, but these weren't the carefully curated public versions. Emma had accessed their deleted content, their private direct messages, their location data from the past month, and their authentic conversations about targeting Emma and other students they considered beneath their social status. "Let's start with Madison's deleted posts from last weekend," Emma announced, clicking through screens with devastating efficiency. "The ones where you discussed specific plans for destroying my artwork and filming my reaction for your entertainment. Or maybe we should look at Amber's private messages with her boyfriend from Riverside High, where she admits to being jealous of girls she bullies because she feels insecure about her own appearance." Amber's face went pale as her most intimate conversations appeared on the screen for everyone to read. "How did you get those?" Those are private messages. Nothing is private when you use password 123 for your email account and sync everything to an unsecured cloud service. Emma replied matter-of-factly, "Your boyfriend's messages are particularly interesting. He seems to think you're cruel and shallow, but he stays with you because you're popular." His exact words were Amber's hot, but kind of a psycho to other girls. Madison lunged toward the computer, but Emma was already several steps ahead. "I wouldn't do that if I were you. This system is currently uploading everything to the school's administrative network, the principal's email, and a backup server that parents and students can access through the district portal. Trying to stop it now would be tampering with official school records." The art room fell silent except for the soft humming of the computer processing Emma's commands. Madison's followers watched their digital lives being dissected with surgical precision, their authentic personalities displayed for analysis alongside their carefully crafted public images. The contrast was devastating, revealing the insecurity, jealousy, and calculated cruelty that motivated their harassment campaigns. "But wait, there's more," Emma continued, echoing infomercial salespeople with dark humor. "Chloe's planning documents for cyberbullying campaigns against 6 different students. Madison's financial records showing Daddy's credit card being used for designer clothes while she mocks other students for being poor. Jake's academic dishonesty spanning 3 semesters. All of it documented, time-stamped, and verified through multiple sources." Madison found her voice, though it shook with panic. "You can't do this. This is illegal. This is hacking." "Actually, it's digital forensics," Emma corrected. "Everything I'm accessing was willingly shared by you through social media platforms, email services, and cloud storage systems that you agreed to use. The terms of service you never bothered reading gave me permission to access this information through legitimate security research protocols. I'm not breaking into anything. I'm just connecting data you scattered across the internet like digital breadcrumbs." The computer screen now displayed a comprehensive dashboard showing the network of harassment that Madison's group had constructed over months. Their coordinated attacks against multiple students were mapped with timestamps, participant lists, and evidence trails that would satisfy any administrative investigation. Emma had transformed weeks of casual cruelty into a documented pattern of systematic abuse. "The really interesting part," Emma continued, "is how this connects to the district's new zero-tolerance cyberbullying policy. The one that mandates immediate suspension and potential criminal charges for students who use social media to harass their classmates. Principal Davidson is receiving all of this documentation in approximately 30 seconds. Madison's phone buzzed with an incoming call from a number she recognized immediately. Her mother's contact information appeared on the screen, along with a text message that made her stomach drop. "Madison, we need to talk immediately. Come home now." Emma turned away from the computer to face her tormentors directly. "You see, the beautiful thing about digital warfare is that it's permanent. Every cruel comment, every planned attack, every private conversation expressing your authentic feelings about the people you target. It's all preserved forever in servers you don't control, accessible to people with skills you don't possess." Amber was frantically typing on her own phone, apparently trying to delete evidence, but Emma shook her head with genuine sympathy. "That won't help. Everything was backed up to multiple locations before you even knew I was accessing it. Delete whatever you want. The permanent records are already distributed." Chloe's phone rang next, followed by Jake's. The systematic notification of parents was happening exactly as Emma had programmed it, delivering comprehensive evidence packages to every family involved in the harassment campaign. Their carefully hidden cruelty was being exposed to the people whose opinions mattered most in their real lives. "This is insane," Madison whispered, staring at her silent phone as if it might explode. "You've ruined everything. I've revealed everything. Emma corrected. The cruelty was already there. The planning was already happening. The systematic targeting of vulnerable students was already your choice. I just made it visible to people who needed to know about it. Principal Davidson's voice echoed through the school's intercom system, requesting that Madison Wells, Amber Thompson, Chloe Martinez, and Jake Richardson report to the administrative office immediately. The announcement reverberated through the art room like a death knell for their social dominance. Emma began shutting down the computer terminal with the same methodical precision she had used to dismantle their digital lives. You know what the most ironic part is? All of this could have been avoided if you had just left me alone. I came to Lincoln Valley High wanting nothing more than to be invisible until graduation. You decided I was worth your attention. You escalated every interaction. You invaded my sanctuary and destroyed my artwork. You created this situation through your own choices. Madison's group filed out of the art room in stunned silence, their phones buzzing continuously with incoming calls from increasingly frantic parents. Their reign of terror at Lincoln Valley High was ending not with dramatic confrontation or physical violence, but with the quiet efficiency of someone who understood that information was the ultimate weapon in modern warfare. Emma remained alone in the art room, looking at her damaged painting with fresh perspective. The fingerprints across her canvas no longer represented violation. They were evidence of the moment she had chosen to stop being a victim and start being someone who fought back with intelligence instead of anger, precision instead of brutality. Her father would be proud of how she had applied his technical lessons to defend herself and protect other students who couldn't protect themselves. Madison's documented harassment of multiple targets meant that Emma's revelation would help far more people than just herself. The war was over, and Emma Chen had won it without throwing a single punch or saying a single cruel word. She had simply revealed the truth that Madison's group had tried so desperately to hide behind their carefully curated social media personas. Sometimes the most devastating weapon was nothing more than authentic honesty deployed at exactly the right moment. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.